Bryant here, and we are live back in Las Vegas for the Tellus or Teus case. The name seems to have changed pronunciation mid-trial. But this gentleman is accused of killing a Las Vegas Review-Journal reporter by the name of Jeff German, allegedly because articles written by the reporter were not helpful to Mr. Teus's political career. He lost his election and is now, according to the prosecution, made up for it by killing the guy who wrote the articles. On the stand now, we have Cliff Mogg. This is a retired police officer who was brought on apparently by the prosecution as a form of rebuttal witness, maybe out of order. We don't think the defense is officially arrested. And he testified about some photos that had been taken, but now across, he's really being grilled about cell phone information, specifically a text that was deleted in which his wife said, "Where are you?" at her about the time that Mr. German was being killed. Let's go back in.
The handle where you go in, you're talking about that camera? You didn't look
That's
at that?
the camera I was referring to when I answered your question, Mr. Draskevich.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you very much for your, do you have another?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much for your testimony here today. You may step down and you are excused. Thank you very much for coming back today.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And Mr. Tellus, you can retake the stand.
Can we have just a moment?
Okay, that's right. I want to break. Okay, we're going to take a recess. During this recess, you're admonished not to discuss or communicate with anyone, including your fellow jurors, in any way regarding the case or its merits, either by voice, phone, email, text, internet, or other means of communication or social media. Read, watch, or listen to any news or media accounts or commentary about the case. Do any research. Consult dictionaries, the internet, or reference materials. Do any investigation, test a theory, recreate any aspect of the case, or in any other way investigate or learn about the case on your own, or form or express any opinion regarding the case until it's finally submitted to you, and we'll be in recess.
Thank you. All right, next recording.
Okay, a little odd, but not all that unusual to have a witness called out of order. This was a very specific witness to lay the foundation for those photos, as I mentioned, but also got into some of the data in the cell phone. So we're going to look at some of the prior testimony from the defendant. As you could hear from the judge, he's about to retake the stand after this break. Here's some testimony from Robert Teus from earlier today. Oh, I'm sorry, this is Cliff Mogg.
Last name for the record.
Clifford, C-L-I-F-F-O-R-D. Last name is Mogg, M-O-G-G.
MC. Thank you. Sir, I want to turn your attention to September 7th, 2022, probably about 9 o'clock in the morning. Do you remember where you were around that time?
I was at Mr. Teus's house preparing to execute a search warrant at that location.
Did you have an opportunity to interact with Mr. Tellus's wife, May Ishmael?
I know her as Mary Anaya de Teus.
Okay. On that day, do you end up taking a couple of photographs on that day?
I did.
Okay, what did you take a picture of?
So during the interview with Mary, I learned some information that I felt would be important to the investigation, namely a text.
Well, I don't want to get into the substance. Just did you take any photographs?
I had crime scene investigators take a photo.
Okay. I want to show you what's been already admitted. States 379 through 387. Are these those photographs that you had taken or directed to have taken?
They are.
Okay. Publishing 379. This is the first in that series of photographs, is that correct?
That's correct.
I have no further questions for this witness.
Yes. Take a moment, Mr. Mogg. May I see this?
Sure.
Turning your attention to State's Exhibit 379. You took a series of photographs, correct?
I had a series directed to be taken.
At your direction, a series of photographs were taken.
Correct.
And that would include various text messages that were alleged to have occurred between this phone and another phone, that phone belonging to Mr. Tellis.
Yes.
These were addressed yesterday through the course of Mr. Tellis. And it's funny, you have referred to him as Tejas. I've spoken to him as Tellis, but it's Tejas apparently as well, but the defendant in this case.
Okay.
And there was a line of questioning as to whether or not the communication between these two, when I say this is a phone, I mean this is an Apple Watch, correct?
That's correct.
And that there was a text message or an SMS message deleted, correct? Are you aware of that?
Deleted from.
On the part of Mr. Tellis's phone.
I'm gonna object. I think that misstates the testimony, or at least the question posed.
You're asking if he did?
If he's aware of it, yes.
Okay, you can answer.
I was not privy to going through the download of Mr. Tellis's phone. I had heard that there was a text message deleted, but I had never seen it.
Okay, so what we have here is basically whenever you have SMS messaging, text messaging, it's generally how that's referred to. Obviously, you have a phone or an electronic device that receives it. Let's say Mr. Tellis's phone, and then the phone that it's sent from, or the device that it's sent from, which is presumably this Apple wristwatch, correct?
That's correct.
Did you ever take the actual physical phone from Mr. Tellis and review whether or not these images actually appeared on his phone?
I did not do that. That was not part of the investigation that I was involved in.
So then we're confined to drawing a conclusion at this point in time that when you see a certain message on this device, the Apple wristwatch device, but then it doesn't appear on an extraction, and then an argument is made, well, it was deleted on his side. We're basically comparing the actual device, the Apple Watch, versus an extraction, correct?
Yes.
You familiar with Cellebrite extractions?
I am familiar with Cellebrite extractions, but that is not in my area of expertise.
Was there ever a discussion on your part concerning a timeline extraction concerning Mr. Tellis's phone?
I know what a timeline extraction is in Cellebrite and how to use them, but again, I didn't conduct the download of Mr. Tellis's phone, nor did I review the contents of the download.
If I were to show you from what's been provided from the state, the timeline extraction concerning Mr. Tellis's phone, would you recognize it?
I could try to look at it.
Okay, and I'm approaching you, it's been marked as Defense Exhibit L3. And if I represent to you that this is the timeline extraction taken from Mr. Tellis's phone, would you have any reason to disagree with me?
No.
I'd move at this time for admission of Defense Exhibit T3.
No.
No, it's L3. Just
L3, I'm sorry. Permission to publish. I'm going to approach the witness. Here we have Cellebrite. It's the extraction report. To your knowledge, this extraction report was done by Mr. Is it Hesefetch? Am I killing his last name?
Who?
He did the, we heard from him last week.
Detective Hovanek.
Hovanek, I'm just pronunciation, you'll tell us, Tejas Hovanek. This, you would agree with me, is timeline extraction. This is a more in-depth extraction. This is, obviously you can access through various portals information that's contained within the cell phone, correct?
Again, that's out of my field of expertise. I'm familiar with the Cellebrite extraction reports, and that's about the extent of it.
Here we have this column, deleted column. You see that?
Correct.
and we have a deleted column concerning a much earlier timestamp of 4/14/2020. I told you that has nothing to do with this case, fair to say?
Correct.
And then we have this, and it says deleted. And then here we have these instant messages incoming, and we have times. 9/02/2022, 10:36:02, correct?
That's correct.
And on the right column, unlike the first one, where we see deleted, the entry on this Celebrite extraction does not contain the term deleted. Fair to say?
It doesn't contain the term yes.
And again, to your knowledge, and actually, yes, obviously we had you taking photographs of this electronic device, which was presumably on his wife's wrist, fair to say?
It was.
But we don't have any photographs to be provided for you or the foundation laid concerning the photographs taken of Mr. Tellis's electronic device, his cell phone, correct?
I didn't have access to his cell phone, nor did I do the download extraction of his cell phone, and it's beyond my area of expertise to testify as to how the downloads are conducted, what would be deleted, how you would see it.
You're aware that his cell phone obviously was seized, and obviously it was analyzed by the the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department.
I'm aware of that.
And finally, it's fair to say that your primary responsibilities in this investigation concerned surveillance videos, ring cam videos, security videos, correct?
That was not my only primary job. That was one of them. I also interviewed Ms. Tellis, and I assisted in the execution of the search warrant at his house.
Did the Tellis home have a ring camera?
It did.
And did you collect or extract any information, any data that was on the ring camera?
I did not. I know our digital forensics detectives were at the execution of the search warrant. They would have done all of that work. That wouldn't have been anything that I would have been involved in.
Obviously, you would agree with me that the ring camera at the suspect's home would be significant to the investigation in this case, based upon your training, experience, your knowledge.
It would, but sometimes it captures things, sometimes it doesn't. Depends how long it is, it overwrites. It depends whether you have the service as to whether or not things are stored on the cloud, how long they're stored. So there's a lot of variables that go into a ring camera.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Anything else from the state?
Just one question. There were some questions about the ring camera. Do you know when that camera, do you remember when those surveillance cameras were put up?
I believe Ms. Tellis told me that the camera on the front of the garage was put up or purchased somewhere around September 5th. But other than that, I don't know when the ring camera was put up.
Thank you.
Just so we're clear, we're not talking about the surveillance cameras, up above the garage. I'm talking about the ring camera. The ring cameras that a lot of people have that are at the front of the door?
That's what I was speaking of.
Okay. Front of the door, then, by the handle where you go in. You're talking about that camera? You didn't look
That's
at
the camera I was referring to when I answered your question, Mr. Draskevich.
Okay. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you very much for your, do you have another?
No.
Thank you very much for your testimony here today. You may step down and you are excused. Thank you very much for coming back today.
Well, I think I know more about what Cliff Mogg doesn't know, what is not his expertise, than maybe what his expertise really is, because we started going far afield there, and it's very interesting because maybe there could have been an objection, but maybe there was a reason there wasn't. Luckily, to help me kind of sort this out, Catherine Lizardo is still here, and joining the firm now, Michael Troiano from Las Vegas. I say that almost accusingly, but yes, he's from Las Vegas. So tell me, would you have objected to some of the questioning by defense that went well beyond what this witness seemed to be an expert in? Maybe it helped them to, let him just pontificate about things that he didn't know. What's your take on how that played out?
Well, I think you have to look at it from the context of the entirety of the trial. And based on everything that I've seen, and I haven't had the ability to watch each and every moment of the trial, but I've watched some significant portions so far. And if I'm the prosecution, I feel very firm in my belief that the jury is going to come back guilty on the murder counts. They can't overcome the DNA of the fingerprints. And the old saying is by prosecutors, and it's common in cases where you admit what you can't deny and deny what you can't admit. And this seems to be a common theme in this trial for the defense. They're doing a great job, but you're left with only so many options when your client's DNA is under the victim's fingerprints. So as far as objecting to this particular line of questioning, I don't see a reason for it. You don't want to come off obstructionist at a certain point when you know that you essentially have it in the bag.
Yeah, and sometimes that's the plan. Why upset the jury? This thing's going well. You know that witness isn't going to do anything to damage you. He's there for his purpose. He served it. Let's let the defense spin their wheels. So, Catherine, let's look at the procedure here. We're cooking along with the defendant testifying. We fully expect when they get back from a quick break that he will retake the stand for redirect. But in the middle of that, oh, by the way, hold up. We're going to have this cop who has testified before. We're going to have him come in on this one little nugget of information, which was the photos relating to the text that were deleted that questioned where the defendant was. His wife saying, "Where are you? I don't know. I'm gone. I'm out and about." He denies deleting it. This was evidence to support the fact that he did. So, long way of me asking you, Catherine, about this shuffling of the witnesses here. What's your take on that?
I think they had to, or the prosecution had to bring in this witness to lay the foundation about that photograph of the Apple Watch of the defendant's wife, because during the cross-examination of the prosecution, what happened was they asked him, and let me back up actually, during the direct narrative, not really direct examination of the defendant, he said that at the time of Berman's death, he was at home. Then during the cross-examination, the prosecution was asking him, here's a picture of your wife's Apple Watch, asking you, where are you when your wife is at home and you're not home? So how is that possible, you testifying that you were home? And because the prosecution brought in that picture, they had to lay a foundation of where that picture came from. And that's where the witness, the out-of-order witness, Detective Mugg, had to come in and lay the foundation that he's the one who took the picture of that Apple Watch with that text message on it while he was interviewing his defendant's wife.
Yeah, and then on cross, the defense tried to get into all kinds of issues that made it muddy the waters, at least, as to whether it was truly deleted, because he didn't have all sources of that message and when it was deleted. Okay, well, we're going to take a break here real quick because we believe that the defendant will be back on track, will be back on the stand, and we'll be right back.